This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. Episode number 181, baby. Oh yeah. And today I have some news to give you. Nothing exciting. Normally when someone says I've got some news, it's like, you know, I'm having a child, I'm getting married. It's none of that. It's actually, unfortunately, I suppose, bad news because the Rock and Roll English team and I will be taking a bit of a break for Christmas. So the next podcast will be in January, on the 13th of January to be precise. This will be the longest break in the history of Rock and Roll English. I think in the last 3 years I've only missed, I would say, 2 or 3 Mondays, but I need a break. I need to take a break to come back stronger. However, there will still be a podcast every day for the Rock and Roll English family members, because that's where Christmas should be spent, isn't it? With family. So I suppose my break from podcasting isn't really a break, because I will still be making podcasts. I will just be making less podcasts. So if you cannot live without Rock and Roll English for 1 month, go to rockandrollenglish.com/family. And then you can also listen to Rock and Roll English during the Christmas period. Anyway, in today's episode, I speak to Dan the Man about this decade, because the next episode now will be in 2020, which is the next decade, obviously. So we take a look back at this decade. So here is the conversation. Happy listening. Dan the Man, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'd like to say always fantastic, but after the election result, I must admit, even I, Mr. Always Fantastic, am having difficulty raising my spirits. I'm hoping you're going to do it for me, Dan.
I kind of feel the same way.
Just quickly on the politics thing, I would like to point out, so I'd like to quickly say, the evening before the results were given, Dan the Man texts me saying, I think Jeremy Corbyn is going to be the Prime Minister. Not only did he lose, it was a landslide. So a landslide, like he got destroyed in the vote.
Okay, that is true. But to be fair, I only said that at the very last second. All the time before that, I thought he was going to lose by a big margin. I should have just stuck to my guns with my original... My original... I don't even want to talk about it. The whole thing is...
You did use some nice rock and roll vocabulary there when you said, I should have stuck to my guns. I should have stayed at my position. The only very, very, very small silver lining here, so silver lining, the only good thing, is that when Brexit definitely happens now, although it will pain me a lot because obviously Boris loves Brexit, I will play the clip of Dan the Man on the podcast about Brexit saying it's definitely not going to happen. That's the only thing that's getting me through this, Dan. So the only thing getting me through this, the only thing helping me survive.
I don't know. I'm not still 100. I'm not completely sold on it. I think it's, you know, I'm still holding out hope.
That's all we've got, Dan. That's all we've got. Anyway, how do we usually start the show?
With a review.
Oh yeah. Do you think we have a review?
Yes.
Yes, although we are starting to run a little bit thin now. So when you're running thin, there aren't many left, basically. And this review is a 5-star iTunes review, our favourite. It's from Marina, but I can't see the full title. It says the only podcast that makes ... because in the picture I've got here, I can't see. So
fill in the blank.
Exactly, fill in the blank. That makes me laugh or that makes me feel sick. I don't know.
Makes me want to kill myself.
Exactly. Let's hope for something positive. Anyway, and it says Rock and Roll English is definitely the best podcast ever. So of the history of podcasts, I think that means. It's always a pleasure listening to Martin and his lovely friends talking about different kinds of stuff, always in a new, hilarious way. Since I've started listening to it, I have never got bored. Martin's dedication to his podcast and listeners has always been inspirational to me. I've always been an inspiration to Dan the Man as well, but that's something else.
Is that in the review, or is that you saying that?
Well, I think that's what she meant.
Okay.
It wasn't mentioned, but I think that's what she meant. It says, keep up the fantastic job, Martin. You and your podcast will live forever. Oh, yeah. There is just one last important thing to say. Happy rocking birthday, Martin, because this was a birthday present. Then it says, hashtag Martin almost 40. So thank you for the lovely review, Marina. Just that hashtag again. Although I was thinking about this, Dan. If I'm almost 40, you're almost 50.
No comment.
Let's start that hashtag. We've had enough now of Martin almost 40. Let's do hashtag Dan the Man almost 50. Anyway, Dan, do you know what we're talking about today?
I'm hoping it's not politics.
No, you're okay this time. Well, as this is the last podcast of the year, I thought to myself, we're at the end of the decade now, so we can talk about the decade. The first thing to say, I suppose, is what's the name of this decade, Dan? It's a bit of a tough one, isn't it? It was easy, but back in the day, back in the good times, the 80s, the 90s. After 2000, it got all fucked up, didn't it? It got all messed up.
What's the tens, surely?
The tens. What a shit name that is. From research, it seems to be the 2010s, which again, well, is less shit than what you suggested, Dan. So,
Thanks.
You know. Yeah.
Well, the thing, it's going to be weird going into the 20s, because when I think of the 20s, I think of the 1920s.
You have to move with the times, Dan. Move with the times, okay? Another thing to say is our friendship has seen through another decade. So seen through there means when you don't really want to do something, but you do it anyway. Same as probably our friendship, really. We didn't really want to see through another decade, but we have.
Just grit your teeth and get through it.
Exactly. Grit your teeth. Like, it's painful, but you have to do it. We went through the 90s, the noughties, and now the 2010s. We've had our rocky patches, difficult times, but we've made it again, Dan. Another 10 years.
How do you see the 20s going?
Oh, God. If it's as stressful as the last 30 years, I think I'm just going to say no. That's enough now. At one point, it's going to have to end. It's going to have to.
That's if we both survive the 20s. I'm not sure you will, if you're...
I am a specimen, okay, of good health, okay? So if you look at my body, it just oozes health. Like, health is coming out of it, okay? Also a lot of hair, but also a lot of health. So we're going to talk about things that have changed in this decade. One thing, something that pains me, to be honest, is the decline of phones with buttons and the rise of smartphones touchscreens, because I loved the Nokias, Dan.
Buy a Nokia then.
Well, you have to move with the times. This is what I was just telling you, okay?
But why?
I don't want to be left behind like a dinosaur, Dan, okay? Look what happened to them. It went badly for them. They didn't move with the times.
They didn't have their Nokias.
Exactly. I must admit, I did resist. I got my first smartphone in 2013, I remember. Everyone had one, but I kept saying, no, I'm going to keep the Nokia because I'm loyal. But in the end, I had to say goodbye.
In the end, you weren't loyal.
Exactly. It's a bit like with you, though, Dan, okay? I'm loyal with you, but if an iPhone comes along or something better, then you're gone, okay?
Yeah. I'm beginning to understand that.
Something I suppose you didn't want to talk about that's happened in this decade is the controversies of Trump, Brexit, and now right at the end, just to finish this great decade, we have Boris Johnson for 5 years.
Yeah.
Just quickly speaking about politics again, Dan the Man texted me, I think yesterday, saying, just out of the blue, without any mention of this before, can we not talk about politics on the podcast? So
we're talking about it.
Well, so I said, yeah, of course we can. And then he replied, I haven't got the patience for it anymore. So I thought, well, why the fuck did you ask me if we can talk about politics?
I said, can we not talk about politics?
Oh, right. Okay, Dan, I understand. I thought it was like, can we not, as in like, is it not okay to talk about politics?
I said, can we not talk about politics? How?
You were not clear, Dan. You were not
I'm
clear.
going to find the message and I'll post it on the...
It can be
Facebook.
interpreted in different ways. This is a part of communication you've never understood, okay? When it's written, you have to be crystal clear. So crystal clear, completely clear, okay? Not messages that can be interpreted in different ways.
Okay, so why don't I'll tell you what, we'll just have a poll on the Facebook group, on the Facebook page. We'll put it up and we'll see if it was clear or not.
Okay.
Much like the referendum of...
Yeah, exactly. So another one here is Netflix and streaming has, boomed this decade. Are you a big Netflix fan, Dan?
I use my sister's Netflix, so I guess so, yeah.
I also use my mum's. If you live abroad, you shouldn't be paying for Netflix. Come on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree.
I must admit, though, I do find it an anticlimax. So an anticlimax when you think it's going to be great and then nothing happens, because every time I think, right, I'm going to watch something, it's going to be great, and then I never actually end up watching anything because there's too much choice, too much.
I found a great website the other day where you can watch English TV for free for an hour, and the stream is perfect.
I can't say I'm a big fan of English TV, especially if they're talking about politics.
No, I mean during like the World Cup or during sporting events. It's quite useful.
Perfect. That was also a bit of an anticlimax, Dan, much like Netflix, you telling me that. Much like as well when you sneeze, when you think you're going to sneeze and you go, and then you don't sneeze. That is the worst anticlimax in the world.
I look forward to the day when you will text me saying, Dan, what was that website you were talking about? And I'm not going to fucking tell you.
Will not happen. Will not happen. We've had the boom as well of selfies this decade. That's something that's really taken off. So something that's really become popular. You and Mrs. Dan the Man like a selfie, don't you, Dan?
I don't like selfies. She likes a selfie.
Well, what I enjoy most is I can see that she's forced you into the selfie. She's having a great time. And then I can see you, again, gritting your teeth, trying to pretend that you're smiling. And they're the best ones. They're the best ones.
Yeah, well, whenever she does that, we have to negotiate. So if I say I want to watch a certain film, she'll say, only if we can have a selfie tomorrow. I was like, for God's sake. So then I agree. Although I've seen you and Mrs. RocknR English have selfies in Chelmsford.
Nah.
I mean, that's for someone who's from Chelmsford, that's low.
I just love my hometown, Dan, so much, okay, that I like to take selfies there. That's the difference. I was thinking that I saw a picture recently, I found one, of the Hellraiser and me from 2004. And we had one of those disposable cameras. So the disposable cameras were the ones where you took pictures and then you threw it in the bin, basically. And we had a great selfie. So I think we invented the selfie.
Yeah. I don't know what to say to that. Let me see the picture.
Perfect answer. That's what I will do. I will put that on the Facebook page, definitely. So what else do we have here? We have the ice bucket challenge that happened this decade, didn't it? Do you remember that? Everyone was just pouring buckets, of ice on their head. They said that it was money going to charity, but I just think it was an excuse for people to look wacky. So wacky is when you do stupid things like, whoa, look at me, I'm doing something stupid. You
were sat by your phone waiting for someone to tag you, weren't you?
I actually did get nominated. And the person that nominated me said, I nominate Martin Johnston because he's got shit hair and I want to see his hair over his face. And I thought...
Who said that?
Someone that I know, Dan. I know people that you don't know, okay? I don't know if you know that, but it is possible.
Okay. Did you do it?
No, I actually didn't do it because... He had a good point, to be honest. My hair would have gone all over my eyes, and I did not want that.
Did you give the money to charity instead?
I can't remember.
That's okay. Get your bank statements out, mate. We'll have a look.
You can only go back the last 60 days on the bank statements. So
okay. We'll just assume you did then, yeah?
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But at least my hair was okay. Okay, and that's the really important thing. Speaking of my hair, I've just recently found out that for the last month, I've been washing it with the same stuff that you're supposed to wash your genitals with. Mrs. Rock and Roll English is in charge of buying shampoo and stuff like this, and it looked like the other bottle, so I was putting it on my hair. To be fair, she was as well, and then she said, I've just realised this is the stuff that you're supposed to wash genitals with.
Hang on, you have genital shampoo?
In Italy, they have genital shampoo, Dan. They have bidets, so they have like a special, I wouldn't call it shampoo, but a special shower gel kind of vibe that you have to wash your private parts with.
Why can't you just use shower gel?
Well, apparently, this is what she then said to me. She said because shower gel is more aggressive. And I was thinking, for years I washed my penis with shower gel. How aggressive is this shower gel? Because I don't want anything aggressive down by my penis.
What have been the side effects?
Nothing. As far as I know, anyway, nothing to the hair, nothing to the penis. The two most important parts of my body are still going great.
This actually sounds like a marketing ploy to me. It's almost much like Valentine's Day. You need to buy genital shampoo. It's going to be something else next month.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of it like that, but yeah, it was one of those marketing messages as well that really scared me when she said, like, no, shower gel and soap are too aggressive. It was the word aggressive. My penis heard the word and was like, we don't want aggressive stuff down here. Keep the aggressive stuff away. Does
your penis feel smoother now that you've been using it?
Oh, it's so smooth. It's like a baby's bum.
You should be on one of those before and after photos on the marketing campaigns.
Here's what your penis can look like after washing it with the correct shower gel.
Yeah.
I might do that. We've also had emojis this decade. That's been a huge boom, hasn't it? You write a message now and, I don't know, you say to someone, do you want to go dancing? And then you put that dancing emoji on there. Sometimes the worst bit is when you say something and then there's no emoji for that. And I think, oh, fuck, this is a nightmare.
It seems a bit regressive for me. It's like we're going back to hieroglyphics or cave paintings. It feels like people can't communicate with words, so they're just slapping on an emoji instead.
So regressive, like we're going back, basically. Although I just thought of this, speaking of dancing, what about your dancing career, Dan? What were you doing? The tango, the flamenco, one of those?
I can't even remember what it was called now. The samba, I think, or
samba. There we go.
No, salsa. That was it.
Salsa. So, from what you've just told me, it sounds like your salsa career hasn't quite taken off like emojis have taken off this decade.
I've had an ankle injury the past few weeks as well. So.
Oh yeah. Here we go. Mrs. Dan the man says, "Oh, let's go salsa." I've just got a painful ankle today.
But you played football yesterday. Yeah, I know.
Although, with your new hashtag Dan the man almost 50, you can't be doing salsa at your age, Dan.
That hashtag's not taking off. Okay.
It's taking off. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Anyway, there's also been the rise of the hipster. So a hipster is someone that basically tries to look cool and does all of these strange things.
You used to try and look like a hipster. I remember around 2012, I met you in London, and you were wearing a leather jacket, these really tight jeans, and some Converse trainers. You look like a fucking twat.
So a twat, a complete idiot. I've still got a leather jacket. Only cool people can wear leather jacket, and I'm sure I've still got that same pair of jeans, Dan. That I do have difficulty breathing when I wear those jeans, but it's worth it to look cool, which I also tried to do the other night. We had our work Christmas Christmas party, and I thought I'm going to look really cool. I had my tight jeans, I had my Barber jacket, the same as Boom Boom's, and I was wearing a shirt, and I thought I'm going to do all the buttons up, even the top button of this shirt up.
I hate that look. I really hate that look.
I didn't have a tie, and I thought, I'm going to look really cool. Mrs. Rock and Roll English was there. Even her sister was there. Her sister's a bit younger. Well, a lot younger, actually. She's only 18. So I always think, I'm cool. I'll hang around with her just to keep myself fresh, keep myself cool. And then she said to me, "Why have you got that button done up? You look like a priest."
That's quite a popular look where we're from in Essex, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You can't pull it off though, Dan. So you can't pull it off. You can't do it. It doesn't look right on you. But
no one can pull it off. It looks fucking shit.
I can pull it off.
It's like we're a county of priests. I think that's a good.
I can pull it off, Dan. I can pull it off. But we do have another one here. This decade has seen people become YouTube famous. You can put a YouTube channel out there and become famous. I think I consider myself like that. I think I've got like 189 subscribers at the moment. So I'm sure that, I'm definitely YouTube famous as well.
Oh, well, it's 189 more than you had 10 years ago. So
well, there we go. Exactly. We've had the royal weddings as well. A couple of them. They were a load of shit. The introduction of Black Friday as well. That's a big thing. I bought something on Black Friday the other day, and it was like the time was running out. You only had a few more minutes. Oh, God, it was fucking so stressful.
Was it a haircut?
No. It was like an online
genital shampoo.
Yeah, exactly. You can only buy it at that low price on Black Friday, Dan. So I couldn't let the opportunity slip. But bloody hell, it was stressful. It kind of reminded me of the stress that. When you were a kid and you were in the car maybe and your dad was there and your dad parked the car and said, "I'm just going to go to the shop, but if anyone comes out and says, why are you parked here, just tell them I'll be back." And you have to wait in the car and think, oh, fucking hell, if someone comes now, what am I going to do? I'm only 10. I can't drive the car.
And you've been nervous ever since, haven't you?
Oh, God, it scarred me for life, that experience. And all the memories just come flooding back on Black Friday. It was a bloody nightmare.
I like watching those videos. It's normally in America when the doors open to these Black Friday sales and people start, stamping on each other, getting in fights, just to get that 46-inch television.
Yeah, well, exactly. I understand their pain. It's what I had to go through to get the genital shampoo. Anyway, it's been a pleasure talking about this decade with you, Dan. I'll see you next year, I suppose.
Yeah. Here's to another decade, hey? Enjoy washing your testicles in that shampoo.
I will. We will actually see each other at the beginning of the new decade, won't we, Dan?
Football, golf. We will.
Football, golf, amongst other things. Other great fun that we will be having. Let's kick this new decade off in the right way. Here come the 20s.
Yeah. But Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too.
And to everyone who's listening, of course.
Yeah, it's always fake when people say that, isn't it? When you see someone after New Year, Happy New Year. Yep, you too. Yep, sure.
Why can't you say Happy New Year and mean it?
I just feel like an idiot. It's another stressful situation for me, Dan.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure I will see you again soon and in the new year.
Yep. See you then.
See you later. Okay, so that was Dan the Man and me speaking about the 2010s. Still not convinced by the name. But let's have a look at some of that rock and roll vocabulary. At the beginning, I said to Dan, I would like to point out the fact that he told me that Corbyn was going to win the election. So to point out something is to indicate, basically to say something. I said I want to basically say that Dan told me this. And he was wrong, because the Conservatives won and it was a landslide victory. So a landslide victory, it was a clear victory. They won a very large majority, which is very annoying. Dan the Man said then he should have stuck to his guns. So when you stick to your guns, it's when you stick to your original decision and you don't change your mind. And then I said, talking of the election, the only silver lining is that I will be able to say Dan was wrong about Brexit. So, silver lining, the only good thing, basically, the only silver lining. And I said that's the only thing that's getting me through this, so the only thing helping me survive this. We then were talking about the reviews, and I said, yep, we do have lots, but we are starting to run a little bit thin now. So if you are running thin, you don't have a lot of something. We're running thin on toilet paper, for example. We don't have very much. I then said that our friendship has seen through another decade. So when you see something through, it's when you do it, but you might not want to. For example, you finish reading a book, you have to see it through because you think this book is shit, but I've committed myself to it now, so let's go. Dan the man said, yes, you have to grit your teeth and get through it. So grit your teeth, it's when you hold your teeth together. And then I also mentioned that we had our rocky patches during this decade. So rocky patches, difficult periods, let's say. I then said that my body oozes health. So the verb ooze, it means something's coming out of it. So health is coming out of my body. And we had out of the blue again when I said Dan text me out of the blue without warning. We had that a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And I said that his message, well, messages in general, if they are written, need to be crystal clear, really clear, not messages that can be interpreted in different ways. We also had the term taken off as well when I said selfies have taken off. They've become really popular. We had the term disposable camera as well. If something is disposable, you use it and then you throw it away. Like nappies for children, disposable nappies. You use them, you don't use them again, you throw them away. Although I think some of those nappies that you can reuse maybe exist, I don't know. We had the term wacky as well when I said the Ice Bucket Challenge, people were looking for an excuse to do something wacky. So something wacky is something crazy. Like, look at me, I'm crazy. I've got a stupid Christmas jumper on. That's something wacky. Dan the man said that emojis are a bit regressive for him. So if something is regressive, it's something that takes you back and not that takes you forward. He also used a terrible term when he called me a twat. A very strong way for idiot, let's say. I also spoke about my Christmas do at work. Christmas do, Christmas party. It's the same, like stag do. Then we were talking about wearing all of the buttons on your shirt, and it's a look that I said Dan cannot pull off. So if you pull it off, you look good in it, but maybe someone else doesn't. For example, maybe David Beckham can pull off different things to me because he's a lot cooler than me. So he can go out wearing a skirt like he did in like 98 or something like that because he's David Beckham. He can pull it off. Anyway, all of this rock and roll vocabulary is on the website, rockandrollenglish.com/episode 181. I will see you all next decade, people. Okay, so have a good Christmas, have a good New Year's, and I will see you again on the 13th of January. But in the meantime, and I mean this, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.